So the question is, give a detailed account of how Muslims prepare for prayer. What would that be? That would be preparing for prayer as in such as finding a right place to pray, a clean place to pray, performing your wudu, that your satar must be covered, and so on. So a mosque is a focal point in the lives of Muslims. Discuss. The reason why usually our kids can't discuss this is because it's a sad thing to say, but for our teenagers, the mosque is not a focal point in their lives. That is sad. I'm telling you, that is sad. Okay, so why is it a focal point? Because worship, the main thing, why has Allah created jinn and ins? To worship Allah. And the focal point, the mosque is the focal point because we worship Allah, which is the crux of our religion, that as Allah has said that I have created man and jinn for my worship. So this is a focal point because our focal point in our lives should be, the main priority should be to worship Allah, and every other thing that we do should coincide with the worship of Allah. For example, even if I'm working to teach, it should be to please Allah, to be a beneficial person in the society for the sake of Allah, basically. Okay, and then mosques are also community centers. You can't realize that in Pakistan, but if you go worldwide in the international Muslim world, you will see Turkey, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, England, America, where the mosque is literally a community center. Everybody gathers together, not just the men. In Pakistan, it's a common practice that only men go to for the Jamaat prayer, but in the Middle East, many mosques are open and women also go 5 times a day. I've seen this practically myself in Jordan and in Iraq, that women used to go 5 times a day to their mosque to pray. And naturally, we see it in Masjid al-Nabawi and Masjid al-Haram also. And we don't see it as that much in England and America, but we do see that it's a community center. Everything that the Muslim community have to do, fundraising or celebrating a nikah, it's all performed in the masjid. And then it's a focal point. Why? Because the Muslim Ummah is unified. It creates unity, so it provides a sense of unity. Now, as I said, again, in Pakistan you won't realize, but in England and America and foreign countries, you will see that Muslims, no matter where they live in that part of the city, they will all unify together in that mosque. So it's a focal point for the Muslim community. It develops unity amongst the Muslim community in foreign lands. Then why is it a focal point? Because knowledge is spread from these mosques. As we know, we see that the tajweed, in other words, qiraat, recitation, is taught in mosques to young children, and then perfection in recitation, tajweed, is taught to elders. Then tafsir is also taught. Memorization of the Quran is also taught, and tafsir is also taught. People have dars there. People, there are madrasas that are associated to some mosques in which knowledge is gained. So it's a focal point for when Muslims want to gain knowledge. Plus, the mosque is the Islamic identity. No matter wherever Muslims went, the first thing that they did was build a mosque. Why? Because the main priority was to pray together in a unified status. So it's the identity of Islam. And I've told you this before, I think like last week in class, that my hometown, Woking, Surrey in England, is the first ever mosque to be built in England is Shah Jahan Mosque in my hometown. It's a very small town and it's a very small mosque, but the first thing that Muslims did even when they reached England was to build a masjid. So I hope that answers the more. And then welfare encouraged in the mosque, like when fundraising occurs or free meals, are given in the masjid. They have food banks in foreign countries in the masjid. So welfare is encouraged in these mosques. Zakat is usually collected in the mosque and usually distributed in the mosque. So it's a focal point. And another thing, why is it a focal point? Because it teaches equality. The masjid in Islamic community teaches equality. You know, blacks, Egyptians, Russians, people belonging to far off countries, but just because they're Muslim, based on equality, they will be gathered into a mosque. So it becomes the focal point, and it teaches equality also. And then dawah. Remember, knowledge gaining, Muslims gaining knowledge is a different thing. Dawah is when you give dawah, you invite non-Muslims to Islam. So it's the mosque, it's a central focal place for dawah also, where seminars are held within the mosque and with non-Muslims are called also, and dawah is being done. They're invited to Islam. And alhamdulillah, you will see many mosques in foreign lands in which new Muslims, new reverts, they come to the masjid to proclaim shahada, and after proclaiming shahada, it's the mosque that gives them a certificate that they proclaim shahada in this mosque, and now they are Muslim and they have rejected all their previous ways. And then many nikahs happen in the masjid. Previously they used to occur in the masjid, then people used to opt for big halls, and now again the trend is being set to get the nikah done in the masjid. In foreign lands, even today, nikahs have been done in a masjid for ages. It's in Pakistan, it's in the subcontinent, where the nikahs were taken out to marriage halls, whereas in America and England, even throughout these years, nikahs have always been performed in the masjid. I hope that answers the question.